I, dude,
Rolling.
hey everybody, welcome back to the Spinner Rack. We got news, we got news, we got news. P, select to put that thing all the way to the top so people can see what we're talking about. It's
the middle.
It is this is the Ray Fisher saga. Ray Fisher versus Warner Brothers once again. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. The Hollywood Reporter dropped a long article about what the heck happened, at least what Fisher would say and what was going on. Of course, Pete brought this to my attention. Say what's up, Pete, to the peeps.
What up, y'all?
Oh, I mean, it's wow. After reading the whole article, it gives a lot of perspective as to what Ray Fisher was feeling, why he felt he was set upon by Warner Brothers, and his justifications on what was going on. So, hey, we're going to delve right into it. Petey, what was your take on this whole article? Give me a heads up.
Basically, this is the more in-depth thing of the struggle of Ray Fisher that I think we were pretty harsh on. Now, I'm a little on, there's some negatives on the Warner Brothers side, and there's some things that were kind of a little extra, which I can't say is a little too far for me. Like some of the stuff, like trying to give a director's notes. Now, most of the time when an actor has a different idea about their character, they will say, I don't really like this line, or this line isn't working for me, or this, that, and the other. And they're like, well, what is it? Can we, what's wrong with it? Can you just do that? And then you could try it your own way. And the actor will be like, realize, oh, if I give them what they want, they're not going to use the stuff I want to do. They're going to use this. So they have to hold and do this. But the idea of giving the actor notes, that's why I think Josh Whedon said in there that doesn't take notes from even who's that guy? Robert Downey Jr., who's the highest paid actor on the planet. So then that statement isn't to say that I don't respect you at all. It's saying that directors don't really take actors' comments that way. I'm going to sit in a room with you and you're going to list what you want to do with the character. The thing that an actor has to do is you feel strongly about it, you steer the character the way you want to. And then the director has to decide, well, I can either cut around this person or try to work with it. And that's the thing. If you come into those conflicts, there's a chance that you get, cut out. There's a chance that the director could see, oh, that was better. That was way better than what I thought. You can see like The Usual Suspects, where you see what's the name? Guillermo del Toro. His character wasn't supposed to be mumbling and talking in that funny way, but the director said, let's see how it goes. And they realized since he was character was going to die anyway, that it worked in the film, and it's one of the most memorable performances. So some of the other stuff,
I mean, that's pretty interesting.
Hmm?
I mean, I just want to go on with that point that you made right there. And I think we have to also flesh out a little bit what's going on. Ray Fisher was in the movie, the Snyder cut, well, the Snyder version of the Justice League movie, right?
Yes.
Before it became the Snyder cut. And one of the things that happened is that he was intimately involved, or he was very involved in the character of Cyborg and how he was portrayed in what would eventually become the Snyder cut, and his importance in that whole movie. In essence, he was the beating heart of the movie. They've said Snyder has said this, the other writers have said this, and he said it. And the point is that you have a new director coming in, and the script that he signed up for, or the idea that he signed up for, was basically just cut out. It was just cut out for Whedon, and he thinks that Whedon didn't try to didn't give him a chance, in that Whedon just did whatever he wanted, and he didn't care what others thought. He didn't want input for anyone else, and he felt that the way he went about it was not exactly the best way, or in some points abusive. Right? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yes, and he also cites points of, I'm here, I can hear, I'm pretty sure I know I'm recording. He cites points that showing how volatile the set was. He points out stuff for being harsh with Gal Gadot. They say even Jeremy Irons had some issues with what was going on there. So it's a tough thing to be in that position. But then when you get to some of the particulars, there's some that you have to take in. because you know, there's some that you take in, but some of the discussions of with Jeff Johns, that's when it kind of gets kind of nutso. But some of the stuff you can look at Jeff Johns and say, kind of give him side eye and say some of these discussions don't mount up. But some of the other things, like I think it was what, Cyborg saying the comment of "booyah," and saying that's a catchphrase from the TV show, and that Zack Snyder said no catchphrases, none of the stuff that you would normally say is going to be in this movie. And I don't know, trying to compare like what you're talking about, Willis and what's that other thing, and
I get the
Dynamite.
no cut. Dynamite,
Like
yeah.
those sort of things is like what, it's like Fonzie saying "hey," like, yeah, people have catchphrases, and if you don't want the character to do that, yes, but at the same time it's not thing of showing they're trying to hint that, oh, this is a racist because black people have these catchphrases that catch on and become something big. Why does the black guy have to have the catchphrases? Oh, well, why does Al Bundy have to say "let's rock," like stuff like that? It's like, let's not make this into an issue when it's not. That's not an issue. The issue is the behavior on set. And with Josh Whedon, the behavior on set is seems to be the issue. Now, some of the stuff we have to, strike as a director trying to get his day done. The stuff with Jeff Johns is a little more quite stuff that they shouldn't be talking about. They're going a little too far on. So what do you have to say? You have anything more to say about that? Because you gave a good overview of this whole situation.
I mean, I got an interview definitely from Ray Fisher's thing. I mean, one of the things that we see from here is that, I mean, he was saying he's going to come out with the information. He's going to come out with the information, and you feel how he feels, how he did not feel that the whole investigation was as fair as it possibly could have been. You know,
Mhm.
they weren't telling him what was the actions taken once they did the the action that were taken once he did once they had a judgment. Basically they said, oh well, basically things have been taken, some of the things happened, these remedial actions, such as I guess Whedon no longer being part of the Warner family, and others, like, he doesn't know what happened. He also felt that, some of the actions that were happening by Johns or and Whedon were allowed by management, basically, and that management was now in the position to um, dictate, whether they were the judge of what was going on, and so they were also ones being accused of allowing some of the stuff that's going on. It wasn't fair, and that's what it basically seemed. And he felt like some of the investigations were not as as well done as could possibly be. So, for example, they had one instance he cites is that they have a black lawyer. Someone's had a black lawyer for Warner in one of the cases, but that lawyer had nothing to do at all with the case. So why would they even add it to that? Why would they even mention it in the same thing? Are you trying to show that it was a more fair, you had more inclusive group trying to do things, or not? And the same thing goes with the Force. I believe she was another lawyer or a judge, and he felt that she wasn't doing the investigation that he thought that she should do.
No,
There was an
but
executive who had, sorry,
no, you finish.
an investigation that he thought that she had done, and it seems that the investigator ended with prior to there being some type of some type, because the person who was being investigated resigned, so that the investigation ended. So I mean, he felt pretty put upon, especially by current Warner management, and he felt that the whole process of him trying to seek justice for himself did not work out the way it should. It wasn't above board. Is basically what he's saying. It's
Does he want
it's
justice,
damning.
or does he want revenge, or does he want action taken? Because we know in business,
Well,
if you have claims against one person, it's the other person says their point of view, and they take it down, the information taken down, and that's it. That's what, unless it's like, we pulled you into the back room and asked you to do X, Y, Z, or they did something that was really questionable outside of this sort of this cultural ignorance that you could say that Jeff Johns and maybe all of them have, and this idea, because some of the things talking about, you know, cutting his scenes and having these two black characters that are geniuses and saying this is different, and they're cutting it. They're trying to push the narrative of this is a racist act of cutting a film the way you want to cut it, and then saying they're cutting his part because of the angry black man sort of thing. And it's just like, no, well, if anyone gets stuck in, you're human and you get stuck as Cyborg, like you're gonna have some angry moments. And this whole in between of Geoff Johns, some of the things you just have to take the information down, and that's what happens. Him saying that nothing else was happening. The action is them talking to you about it. Like that's the thing. If you had inappropriate behavior and you go to your bosses and they say, yep, their action is taking this stuff down and watching them for the next time. And you build a report. This is how everything sort of works. Same way if you see something and you don't, like the hard part is that Ray, gave I guess sort of the show part of business is that Ray Fisher said how great it was in his own words of working with Josh Whedon in 2017. And then now, somewhere on Twitter, he recanted, said it was terrible, So that's sort of if as a talent.
I mean, what are you supposed to say?
Hmm?
You're supposed to tell the movie, so that's what you're going to say,
Yeah, that's what I said.
And
I said it's a part of the show and the business. They're saying they come out there and say how great it is, but it's like it takes away the documentation, saying instead of doing it at the time where you don't want to rock the boat, that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, this is where we get to what you want to say. Why isn't this guy fired? Why isn't Geoff Johns? I had some bad conversation with Geoff Johns. He's still there. What about this other guy? And it's just like the act of taking I mean, I know the people, everyone wants revenge. Nobody wants to go through the process of what it's supposed to be. At some point later in the day, that you get your, they'll pay, you'll be like what Geoff Johns is not only, taking the hit on Justice League, he was in a project called Nevers and he had to walk off of that thing. So it's like, they're pushing him away from all this stuff. So it's like the action has been taken. But then he's like, no, I need them. And now why have you done anything to Geoff Johns? Like, how much more can they, what, because of bad conversations, some cultural ignorance or racial ignorance that he has, or
I mean,
your different opinion of what you think character should be. And like, I don't know, it's weird because he talks about the Quasimodo thing and he talk about the black perspective to it, and it's just like, just do the part the way you want to do it. Move on. Oh, I don't want to say these catchphrases. It's just nuts.
look, I think that Ray Fisher has a right to his views. I don't have a problem with that. I think this explanation from the Hollywood Reporter makes clear a lot of the issues that he was having, and it's pretty interesting the stuff that he had to go through. But I also think that a lot of these things also was that it was set up from the very beginning, whereby in the Snyder version there was he was more involved. There was a whole another cut, and now you have someone who's coming in and changing all of that. I can understand why he in particular feels pretty set upon, because his role was so sidelined relative to some of the other roles in the film. And so he comes back and he looks and says, of all these, why? And he said, of all the guys who are sidelined, why is me? Why me? And of course, his negative interactions with Whedon, negative interactions with John. It's I totally understandable why he feels that way. I think Warner should have had a better mediation set up between these guys to begin with. I don't know how much could be done with Whedon. I think because Whedon is Whedon, but I think Johns. I think Johns has written a lot of these characters in the comic books, and he has a particular idea of what these comic book characters are over the years. In fact, he's having just Cyborg added to the Justice League. That was, I think, under his direction and stuff like that.
You had to do it.
You had to do it. Yeah, I think that we have to include.
No, they had to add a black person to it. They had to have a token black guy in there.
Oh my gosh! And then what about John? What's his name? John, the Green Lantern.
What about
they had him in it for a while, and they removed him. I don't know why they removed him from.
Look,
but I'm just saying. And now they're making Martian Man. What are you saying?
Look, the going into saying that he added a black character into the Justice League, where it goes into the pandering. They took a black character who was a sports guy who knew how to use the tech that he had, but at the same time he wasn't a genius. His father was a genius. He was a football player, which was above average, smart, football player, but not a genius that created his own technology. We go to Star Labs. John's changed that, so we have a guy that hacks into all this stuff. He's this big hacker thing, this, that, and the other. And I'm not for taking the characters who are regular guys, even the same extent of, and then changing these things. So it's like you're asking a lot to say.
Serious?
Hmm?
Are you serious?
I am serious. I think the
They
characters.
change characters all the time.
No,
What do
but
you?
I think
They
that
up and they
we look at
they got they up the powers of characters and the ability of characters all the time.
I'm
So
not with
why
it.
is this?
I'm not with any of that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's what they do. So I don't know if that's a big issue to complain about. They did it in the comic books and they did it in the movie. All I'm just saying is that he had a
He's
particular
got an
from
agenda
the
saying
beginning when
that
he
this
came.
guy is a smart black guy, and this is not stereotypical because it got two smart black guys. And it's just like, what is the story? That's it. And you can say you got cut out of the story, right? Which I didn't have an issue with.
Right, and
Hmm? But that's not something you can
and that
go and say to the studio and say, I want this guy fired because he's racist because he cut me out of the film and I'm the only black guy in here. Will you cut out the entire film? No, but all my scenes were cut out. I was a bigger part. They said I was going to be a bigger part. Yeah, we cut out other people's scenes. No, but I had a lot bigger part. It's like the whole thing is chopped up. What do we get rid of? We get rid of the Superman fight for your story? What is it? Oh, we get rid of the whole point of it is Superman. We get rid of Superman at the what's the name?
I,
Story? Maybe.
I don't think you're saying. What I'm saying is, yeah. No, what I'm trying to say is that does he have a point on his end? I think he does. But I think you're right. The director has the ability. The directors usually have the ability to create the films that they want. They're usually given that to a degree from the studios, right?
Yeah.
And that's the point I'm trying to make. You have two people coming from directly different opposites, and this is where this whole tension lies. Where he was working with Snyder and was closely associated with this character and how the development of the character, and Snyder has a different style and how it goes about. We had an opposite style. And because of that, there was clashes. And because there were clashes, it went to the studio. And because they went to the studio, there were negative reactions by Whedon and Johns, And so that's what I'm trying to say, that this is something that could have been hopefully worked out. And there's a multi-million-dollar business. Why not spend some time trying to work these things out? And then the way he felt he was treated, and he cites certain things from, things that happened with the communication department, information that was false that came out. And yet, nothing ever was taken care of that. And yeah, there's one thing to agree and disagree
fired.
that,
Just say it as it is. Nobody was fired. That's what he wanted to happen. They did talk.
If he wanted to
say it. Say it.
Yeah, and look, if Jason Momoa and Henry Cavill and some of the others would have come forward, I think it would have made a bigger difference. But because he's just the lowest man on a totem pole, it didn't. No one stood up. I think Jason Momoa did a tweet, but it didn't. I don't see, or I didn't see that there was a lot happening after that. Gal Gadot clearly had a problem. Her and Patty Jenkins with Whedon, and they said whatever happened was settled at that time, and then she moved on. She's not addressing it. She's not supporting from Ray Fisher on that. She's moving on.
That's the business part of it.
The
show business is that you go through these heartaches, you still show up at the award show and act like you like these people. People have these sort of things. The actors, Nathan Lane said, I want to see the actor's version instead of the director's version with all the good scenes of mine that got cut out. Like, it happened. So it's like we can say some of the stuff, the talks, but they're talks, and it's cultural and racial ignorance that you can talk and say, hey, I didn't like what he said here. I think this sort of thing, the angry black person, was it the black woman's hair, like any of that stuff you can say, but what at the end of the day, are you firing someone? because they said something stupid, or you can say, well, you could possibly fire something if it gets as far as the N word. But if it's not that, what are you going to fire them for? For they didn't do enough to keep the black guy in the movie? Because that's basically what it is. And then they said some stupid things that try to get him to placate him, which was the wrong things to say. Because they're the studio working for Josh Whedon. So they're trying to say, how do we get this thing to work with Josh Whedon? That's why he's talking about, he's saying these things of what Ray Fisher should do, because he's a part of the studio, and he's kind of saying, hey, this is kind of out of bounds here. You can't really be going about this. Or the thing about, I mean, that's the thing. What is it? This comment about the Booyah thing. It's like, this is one of the most expensive movies Warner's ever made. What if the CEO of AT&T has a son or daughter, and that son or daughter wants Cyborg to say "Booyah" in the movie?
Yeah, but you know what? I think that's right. This is a different tone. It's a different tone of movie. If you're talking about what do you call that? Teen Titans Go, which is a lighthearted show and comedic. That's one thing. But this tends to be a much darker universe. And no one's really cracking smiles and making all these comedic other than the Flash. And so I kind of agree with him. Like this is a bunch of BS.
I'm not saying I don't I'm not saying I don't disagree. I'm not saying I disagree with him. I'm saying that it's not big enough for them to fire Whedon or Johns because they asked you to say "Booyah" and trying to add in that it could be like dynamite.
I don't think. Look, it's not. I don't think he's saying to fire them based on that one action or two. He's saying collectively there was a whole bunch of actions that
I'm
were
not
taken.
saying that. I didn't
Now,
say it was one
we
thing.
didn't. We didn't definitely gets affected. He's pulled off of his show, The Nevers. His association with DC. He loses Batgirl. He's on the side, but there was a lot of other things. You had people also Carissa Carpenter came out about the way he treated her on set.
It's not the
Of
same
course,
movie though.
I
It ain't
know,
the
but what I'm
same
trying to say, a
movie.
lot of stuff
You can't.
people started
You're
coming out.
adding too much stuff to it. You can add
No,
everything
but what
in
I'm
the
trying to
article, but then when they add in Carissa Carpenter to say, "Here's the pattern," it's like, no, we're adding this stuff up as a cumulative thing, like we're doing investigation when we're not. All we have is what Ray Fisher is talking about here, and that's what we should stick with. People, if we want to do another thing, is saying how
okay,
many
we can
people.
stick with it, but I'm saying if you're talking about Ray Fisher, the stuff that went on with Ray Fisher showed that DC's communication had a pattern of doing things where they didn't say the correct things about him. He shows that he has that his communications with Whedon clearly were fraught with how it is. And again, I go back to where I say his expectations of the characters are very different from what was happening with Snyder. And when you find that you were cut from 50% of the scenes or whatever that you were expected to be in, that's a different thing. When you expect the reshoots are done in such a way that you feel that your character is not being sidelined where before it was more center. Does the director, the traditional standard is directors usually have when they're hired, they're allowed to do their particular vision to a degree, right? And the actors, they can give whatever notes they want. It doesn't matter. The directors will make the final thing. We're not disagreeing with that, PD. The only thing we're saying is just in terms of the context. How far? Do you think he should have been fired? I'm not sure whether he should have been fired, but I think that definitely there were some actions taken. I feel though on the hand of Ray Fisher, I think it could have been handled a lot better by them reaching out to him and working with him to get some of these issues resolved. Berg, one of the guys that he was claiming was involved in something, he came and apologized, and he said, "Yo, this is all I want: someone to come out, acknowledge that there was a problem, and apologize for it, and let's move on." He's not basically saying everybody, but he felt that they were just like, "Well, no, they're covering this up, they're having this up." Is it correct? I'm not sure. There's still information out there, and of course, when you have these type of accusations, you have his side and their side, and the studios are going to do whatever is going to be most profitable. Let's get down to the point of it. The studios in the what business are they in? The show business, and show business means making money. Hamada's made money for them in different, in I think the horror genre. They're going to hold on to him. They don't have anything that, unless there's something that explicit that comes down. Geoff Johns, he's been demoted, like you said. He hasn't been fired, but he's been demoted from where he was before. At one point, he was going to be the big Kevin Feige impresario of the whole DC universe. Now he's doing more of the local TV stuff. Probably he'll get back there again, but he's
But
Stargirl is working out. He's no longer at the top. So what I'm saying is that yeah, there has been some repercussions. Are they the repercussions that he likes? It may not be. It probably may not be. But probably if we go back and say as simple like, yo, sorry, this didn't work out. It was a misinterpretation of how probably things could have worked out much better. Then you have a character who now says he's out. Oh, sorry, my bad.
can I get
So he
in
cuts
here
me
for a
off. All right.
second? I just want to say I think the idea is this. What you said there, there's one kernel in all of that. Now, one of the things that
What?
there's one thing you said about, the apology, the fact that Geoff Johns is kind of not lost his job, but he doesn't have the sort of being able to step in and help out on all and get money from all these other films. Josh Whedon being pushed off of these things. Those are the show part of the business, where the business is being sidelined. They don't want to be public to say, we don't like this, we don't like Josh Whedon anymore. That we like Geoff Johns, but we're not interested in getting rid of him yet. We have some things we're working out. We might get rid of him a little while after that. The thing will be a ripple effect. But Ray Fisher has been like, let's keep talking. When Gal Gadot could decide to talk about this on her own, but it's like she's on the show part saying, hey, I'm in line with DC and Warner. This only will bring bad blood and ruin the fact that, ruin the fact that she was in this movie with this person and she's moving on, right? She had maybe she did, as they said, they had, like even the Krypton stuff is stuff that Ray Fisher heard somebody else say about Geoff Johns, and it's just like,
I wasn't in the race. I wasn't going to hit the Krypton stuff.
how much hearsay is he going to add into the stuff he saw? Speaking for everyone else, it's like it's like who's it? He passed Prodigies, my infamous life. He's talking about everybody else's stuff and the stuff he heard and this, that, and the other. So it's like, you're right, but at the same time, he has to look at it as action has been taken. But what he wants is a public hanging of all these people, like to drag them all out, fire them, and say, look, we're progressive. We got rid of them. We did everything. It's like, well, who do we get next? Now you've given all the power in the hands of an actor to say, hey, my scenes were cut. This is sexist, or this is racist, or this is classist, or something like that. They're just going to be like, how many you can decide to do that if the person's that volatile, but I think they're just asking it too much when they, excuse me, they have taken action. They just didn't do it publicly.
Well, I don't know. I think again, once again, I'll say Ray Fisher has a right to feel that way because he, the way his role was done. I mean, we're just going over the same thing. So
you have the right to feel that way.
I think that
take it up in social
pretty
media.
tough when
you have the right to do that.
Well, he has a right to express himself, especially if he feels he's not being heard by the company. He says he went through the proper channels, and the proper channels was just pushing him out. Only until he started going to social media was action actually taken. So, I say now again, I don't know if the firing of Geoff Johns is what he needs to see before everything is, or an apology by Geoff Johns, or them getting together and having a meeting in the minds. I don't like throwing around the words automatically if someone is racist because this of such and such actions. I think that people can do actions and they can do the wrong thing. They can come back together and try and work one another. If everybody's automatically labeled a racist and then automatically canceled, that's not the way it should be. Because that means the person can never grow. No one can ever change. No one can ever learn. And that's all I'm saying. I'm saying, if you feel that way, let's see if we can work this out and see what's going on. If it really is that, probably it's a perception problem, and it's definitely, you have different cultural perceptions based on certain things. But you also have the fact that I can only go back to the essence that he was involved in this character with Snyder, and the new director came and says, you know what, we don't think his character is needed in such and such a way, and cut him out. And that's the essence of his complaint, and everything from there falls out. And I think that's more of a communication issue. If they would have communicated that better with him and try to work and say, all right, yeah, your character is being cut. These are the reasons we're doing it. And I guess the director doesn't have to say that, but
Right. I'm just saying you can't. The thing is, does he want to work or does he want to complain? Because the idea is like this: you're not going to work if you're going to sit around here and complain like he's doing. If that's what his end goal is, to say, I'm going to go to my next project and I get I get to complain after I see the film that my scenes were all gone. And what happens to the bad actors that people cut around and cut out of films, and they say, hey, I didn't like my treatment on set, and they cut all my scenes, and I'm a black person or whatever you are, an Asian
well,
person, someone of color, or female, and saying, oh, they cut my scene, and they're like, no, we didn't like. Nobody's clamoring for those scenes with him at the ATM. We got that in there. How did that help us?
I think he's
It
seeing.
didn't. You know, it didn't help us.
I didn't. I think he's
You
seeing
got
it
to smile.
he's more like Colin Kaepernick. You know what I'm trying to say? He's calling people out. He's taking the knee, and regardless of what's going on, he's gonna say this is what happened. If he suffers the consequences, he was a simple in doing this.
It's not suffering the consequences because he'll just go around saying, I haven't gotten work in XYZ. It's like, if you want to work, you work. If you want to do what you're doing, this is what you're doing. That's the end of the line. If someone I write something and someone steals it. If I have another deal on play, if I want to sue this person, instead of going to my other deal, I can spend my life in court. That's what it is. There's two ways about it. And that's why you see people sitting in those award shows, cheering and being nice to each other when they hate each other.
It is what it is, bro. So listen, we're gonna have to. It was a pretty interesting discussion. It's a good thing to talk about this. It's a timely issue, and of
It's
course we
not
have our
over.
differences in how we. Yeah, I don't think it's over. I think more is going to continue.
We're gonna be talking about this some more, regretfully.
Spitterack?
Out.
Cool. So let's do this. You're still recording, Petey.
Hold on, I was trying.